values, and goals. Please help me welcome our thought and pledge leader for this evening, Charlie Vongolier.
Success is not counted by how high you have climbed, but by how many people you brought with you. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and now it is my pleasure to introduce our Presidente, Mr. Don.
Back to the link.
Hey, there's only one El Presidente in this.
Those claps lead you to another thought for the day. It doesn't matter how you start, but how you finish. We have 4 announcements this evening. October 12th, 2014, 2 to 4 p.m., the Longwood Library. There was talks that it was going to change, but I have not received a single email that it was going to change. The next round of the humorous speech and evaluation contest will be held. I can speak personally. I would love to see you there. Supporting me, supporting the club. Mark isn't here this evening, but I know he feels the same way. We want to bring back both first place trophies to this club.
Which library again?
As of right now, it's Longwood. They really talked about moving it because they said it only held 80, but no one's told me otherwise.
Okay, great.
Which is in the neighborhood of Wekiva. Hunt Club, yes, right off Hunt Club Boulevard. Then Gail Hill-Smith has our next announcement about something that's taking place October 11th, which is Saturday. Gail?
Yes. All of you should have received a forwarded email, personal invitation from Carl Ryder for the end of the summer beach party this Saturday from 2 to 8. If you can come, it will be a blast. Toastmasters from all around Central Florida will be there. You have to bring your own bottle or beverage, bring a hors d'oeuvre of some sort. You have to let them know. And I am going, so you'll see me. So Ted, I don't know if you...
I didn't get it.
Okay, because I don't have your email, but everybody else see it?
Yes.
Michann, you saw it? Okay.
And then in November, the final round of the humorous speech and evaluation contest will be held in Jacksonville. I'll go over further details of that as the time moves on. If you are in a leadership role this evening, make sure you get your leadership handbook to somebody so they may evaluate it. So you get points for yourself, points for the club. I don't have a single manual over here outside of Stevens, who I'm evaluating his speech. I would love to evaluate your leadership role. Jorge, I will grab that. Do we have any other announcements that need to be made at this point? Yes, Charles.
It is imperative that we understand and aware that tomorrow they're having a big luncheon here, and I've already been kindly warned to make sure that everything is as it was when we walked in here. So please make sure we don't spill water, wine, or chocolate if anybody brought it.
Chocolate, where is it?
One of the basic hierarchy of needs is security. I'm very excited about tonight's topic. Seeing this man in action for myself the very first time. Our Toastmaster this evening did not have any trouble showing 2 types of identification in the 80s. Driver's license and passport, which was required to work during the Iran hostage era. 30 years later, lots of things have changed regarding security. He believes we need to reach a global consensus to improve security. Please help me welcome our Toastmaster for this evening, Mr. Jorge Elias.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Evening.
Good evening. Right, it's past, not yet, 7 o'clock is up. Evening. Still have a few more minutes. Before I start anything, I'd like to make some revisions to the agenda. The first one is Supervisor of Elections will be Ms. Toni G. And Evaluator number 1 will be Mr. Julian C. And due to the security scrambling and disencrumbling, I made a minor mistake on the prepared speeches. The first speech is Mr. Ted Allman, but all the instructions and directions are the ones listed on the second one. So Mr. Ted Allman will be doing the learning mindsets, 5 to 7 minutes. And Micki will be doing the why it is so difficult for me to give a speech. Let me start with our functionaries before we go any further. Let me start with the grammarian, Ms. Linda Earls. Please tell us your function.
As grammarian, I have 2 basic responsibilities. First, to provide the word of the day, sabotage, to my fellow Toastmasters and guests in order to expand your vocabulary. If you have an opportunity to speak, please do use the word of the day. I will keep track of those who use it and find the ones that don't, 25 cents, as long as you have already given your icebreaker. I will also listen for colorful imagery and use of exceptional vocabulary and grammar, and I will suggest improvements in grammar as needed. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you.
My evaluator is not here. Sarah is not here. She called me that, but she didn't leave a message. I missed her call.
If not, I think we have James
Yeah.
as a backup. Thank you. Our next functionary is Michann Acevedo. Timer. Please tell us your function.
One of the skills Toastmasters practice is expressing a thought within a specific time. As timer, I am responsible for monitoring time for each speaker in each meeting segment. I will operate the timing signal, indicating to each speaker how long he or she has been speaking. For our prepared speeches, to qualify for voting, speakers must speak not less than 30 seconds under their range minimum, and not more than 30 seconds over their range maximum. I will turn on the green light at range minimum, the yellow light at mid-range, and the red light at range maximum. For table topic speakers to qualify, speakers must speak at least 1 minute and no more than 2 minutes, 30 seconds. I'll turn on the green light at 1 minute, yellow light at a minute and a half, and the red light at 2 minutes. For evaluations to qualify, evaluators must speak a minimum of 1 minute, 30 seconds, and a maximum of 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Thank you. Next we have our Wizard of Oz, Ms. Susan Morgan.
My job is to keep track of audible crutches such as ah and double clutches, which is the repetition of a word while the speaker thinks of his next thought. I will also note sentences strung together with bridge words like and or so, and will report at the end of the meeting where I noted any of these infractions. The fine for each infraction is 10 cents. Guests and members who have not given their icebreaker speech will not be fined, but I'll keep track of their infractions to help them improve their speaking ability. When I do this job, I tend to close my eyes and just write what I hear. So if you see me over here with my eyes closed, it's because I'm doing my job.
Finally, we have our supervisor of elections, Ms. Toni G.
As the Bionic Woman vote counter this evening, I will fly around the room and pick up your ballots for Best Speaker, Best Table Topic Speaker, Best Evaluator, and Most Improved Speaker. I'll tally the results for award presentations at the end of the meeting. Also, please write out your comments. I will pick those up and distribute them to the appropriate individual. Take a look on your ballot. There are all sorts of people that you can send comments to. Not only the speakers, but Topics Master, General Evaluator, Toastmaster, and any other member that you would like to appreciate for the meeting.
Thank you. Now Sarah is here, so we're okay with the remaining of the agenda. Security is a degree of resistance to or protection from harm. It applies to any vulnerable or valuable asset, such as a person, your home, your community, your nation. Security covers a wide range of fields. Political, homeland, and with political we have national security, international security. Political we have, physical we have food, now with the Ebola. Airport security, which I'm familiar to. And we also have the data security, which is the IT, includes the networks and so forth. We'll talk about different types of security, and I'm going to mainly give you some examples and experiences I had through my life, like my introduction said, what happened in the 80s with the Iran situation. I was the first one, I was the only one in the company that could prove I was able to work, since I had the 2 identifications with a picture. Most of them had the ID and the birth certificate, but I had my driver's license and my passport, so I was the first one ready to work. We're going to start with the prepared speeches. And today I was sabotaged due to security. The introduction from Mr. Ted Allman was lost in the way. Maybe somewhere in between here and my home, or maybe here and my desk. This is the second time I see you, Mr. Allman, and I'm looking forward to see your speech. Please everybody welcome Mr. Ted Allman.
Anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. So Khan created Khan Academy, one of the moves that are readily available to anybody who has the internet. He says, I'm more convinced than ever that the thing that we do to improve our students, more than anything, is to change their mindset. Researchers have long known that our frame of mind has a lot to do with what we can learn, and that the harder we work and the more struggle that there is involved, the better we learn, and we can actually improve intelligence. We can improve how long this impact stays with us. What this means is that intelligence is not fixed. Our intelligence can actually grow. They found that neural connections deepen and improve with struggle and with actually making mistakes. Fixed mindsets are pretty much describes what the general population believes, that we are limited by our genes or our upbringing. That's not true. Dr. Carol Dweck of Stanford University spent for decades, most of her career, studying this phenomenon. And she has determined that the more we are willing to struggle, the more we are willing to risk making mistakes, and actually the more mistakes we make, the better the outcome. However, most of the population just doesn't understand that. So, people with growth mindsets, however, embrace challenges and understand the tenacity and effort to change a learning experience. As you can imagine, this correlates pretty well with this latter group. The good news is that our mindset is not fixed. We can change it, we can grow, we can alter it. We can become someone who is capable of learning nearly everything. Dr. Quick and others have developed techniques called growth mindset interventions, which have shown that even small changes in communication seemingly change our understanding. Even innocuous comments can have an impact on our mindset. If we were to tell somebody that they have one way is to reinforce the growth mindset with someone. The process phrase acknowledges the effort. Talent phrase reinforces the notion that one can't ascend beyond that, what they were born with. The internet is a dream for anybody willing to make advances in their intelligence. With Khan Academy, MOOCs, and other resources out there, we can, that'll help you grow your mind. Our society isn't going to fully take advantage of this without growth mindsets being prevalent throughout the country, throughout the world, actually. So what if activity tried to change, what if we actively tried to change that? What if we began using whatever means was at our disposal to start performing growth mindset interventions for the people that we are most concerned with, our children, the team that we are responsible for at work? If you wanted to just learn a new language or a new instrument, would it be helpful? Surprise! Now you have just experienced the first half of the process of changing your mindset. By hearing this talk, you have experienced the first step in altering your mindset. Dr. Zwick has demonstrated that just hearing about the research has a positive impact, and that We only need to transform this for ourselves and for the people we love. Research shows that being exposed to the research itself, for example, knowing that the brain grows most by getting the questions wrong, not right, but can change a person's mindset. The second half of the intervention is up to you. You need to communicate this to someone else, not only with research, but let them know that this is a reality, that this is possible. And you want to do this for especially the people you love the most. I want to make one thing clear. As long as you embrace the struggle and mistakes, you can learn anything. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Can you have 1 minute on the clock, please, and everybody write some comments for Mr. Ted Altman? Thank you. In my opinion, I think the more we advance, the more we grow, the more we improve technologically and culturally, we become more risky to crime and vulnerable to security. In the old times, when, let's say in Inca times, the people, the Indians, when they were going out of the house, they didn't have to lock the doors, they didn't have locks, so they didn't have a security system that can install. The only thing they did was put a stick or a broom across the door, and that meant they were out and no one would enter the house, they would respect it. I believe those times were good. Now we are supposed to be better, but things are backwards. 30 years ago when I came to this country, I saw a big change in Bolivia when, I don't know if anybody saw a house in Bolivia, South America, or maybe Cuba. The house is inside a fortress. The windows have bars, and we all and fence house. You don't see the house from the outside, most of the houses. When I came to the States, I was surprised to see the house, nothing on the yard, just the door. I said, this is a great place. And the bikes were laying around, kids would just play, go in and out. So that was a very refreshing thing to me. I'll keep saying more stories about security and experiences or the things I've seen in the past. Continuing with the prepared speeches, the next speech is crafted to meet the requirements of project number 2, the competent communicator manual. The focus on this project is to organize a speech. The goals are as follows. Select an appropriate outline which allows listeners to easily follow and understand the speech. Make the message clear. Use transitions when moving from one idea to another, and create a strong opening and conclusion. Our next speaker tonight completed the Competent Communicator Manual recently, but instead of moving forward to the next level, she decided to work on completing another CC manuals, like me. Her speaking skills improved very much over the years, but she feels that there's still a lot of room for improvement, and decided to put more effort and time in executing each project in this manual. Please help me welcome Micki D, who's going to tell us tonight why she is having such a hard time to give speeches.
I have been trying so hard to improve my public speaking skills, and I am so determined to win this fight. I've been a member of this club for almost 4 years, and I recognize the benefit of being involved in such an activity. And yet, why do I struggle with giving speeches after 4 years of actively participating in almost every meeting? What are the factors affecting my giving a good speech? After a lot of thinking, I came up with 3 main reasons: lack of time, language barrier, and lack of topics. Reason number 1, lack of time to write and prepare a speech. Maybe other people have more time or more energy when they get home from work. I don't. And I don't know if comparing with other people is the lack of time or energy. So I'm going to present you my daily routine and let you judge. I wake up at 6:30 in the morning, go through my morning routine, and leave to work at 8 o'clock. I get there close to 9 o'clock, and starting then until 6 o'clock, many times even later, I work with no break. I don't take my lunch break. I don't run errands during business hours. And no, I don't want you to pity me. I choose to not take lunch breaks just because I like to eat at my desk while working. I don't run errands just because I don't have many to run. In the afternoon, it takes me 45 minutes to an hour to get home. Mainly, it is close to 7 p.m. I go through my evening routine, have dinner, and it is 8 o'clock in the evening. I just cannot start a new task at that time. I cannot work either for my employer or Toastmasters. I feel like I'm done for the day. I could watch a TV show with my husband, take my dogs for a walk, entertain my mom who's desperate from being home alone all day long. But I cannot do something that requires my full attention. At 9:30 I go to bed. I don't fall asleep right away. I usually read for about an hour. Reading light literature helps me relax and keeps my mind away from serious stuff. It helps me fall asleep, which is about 10:30. The next day, I wake up at 6:30 and I start all over again. This is my day, almost every day. Now you tell me, how can I fit school, working out, hobbies, and writing and practicing giving speeches? Reason number 2, language barrier. You don't realize how difficult it is for a person to speak a different language than the one she grew up with. It is like playing a role. You are limited to a script and have to make the best of it. Anything outside the script throws you into unknown and scares you. Let me give you an example. Jonathan, your son este foarte dezordonat in school and we have to make decisions. What is your response? How can we help your son? You have to answer right away because we are doing table topics. No time to think about it. Gail, how can we help Jonathan's son? Let me repeat the statement. Jonathan, your son, este foarte dezordonat în școală, in school, and we have to make some decisions. It's not a big deal. There are only 3 words out of 15 that you don't understand. I'm sure you can figure it out. Do you understand now my stress during table topics? It is at least double than yours. Why at least? Because I may not know all the words in the question, and I may not know anything about that topic. Reason number 3, lack of topics. I am a good observer and a listener. So I pay attention to your prepared speeches and table topics, mini speeches. You always have something funny and family-oriented to talk about. You talk about childhood, parents, adventures in high school or college, vacations, and funny stories about your relatives and friends. It seems so easy to talk in your native language about something so familiar. But English is not my native language, and I don't want to talk about stories of my past, childhood, parents, friends, because it hurts too much. I don't want to bring my past to life. I don't want my past to be linked to my present, not even through a speech. It is too painful to remember. It is too painful to bring it out from the dark corners of my mind where I have buried it. And why would I do that? It is agonizing for me, and it doesn't do any good to you either. We are here to improve our speaking skills while having fun. We try to make it easy on ourselves. So why to put the burden of depressing topics or stories on you? Why would I sabotage you in this way? Then what is left to talk about between my dreadful life in Romania and work here? How can I cheer you up? I have nothing nice to tell you. Why would I ruin your evening with some depressing story? I would rather not. That's why it is so difficult for me to give a speech. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Micki. I can relate to that. Please, 1 minute on the clock to write comments for Micki. I think the reason why the Bolivians or South Americans are so scared and they build their homes like fortresses, it goes all the way back to the Spaniards. In the Inca times they were free, no one cheated, no one robbed. Spaniards came to South America and they robbed, they took their money, they raped, they killed all the natives. And I believe that's been encrusted in our minds, in our DNA. And I believe that's happening here in our country too. Ever since the 9/11 or the terrorist attacks, you see more security everywhere. Not just at airports or embassies, but everywhere. I know from a fact, from working in engineering, I designed a lot of water plants, wastewater plants. They always had security doors unlocked, but they were always open before 9/11. After 9/11, they installed, you had to call somebody, you had to show your ID. Nowadays, you have to leave your ID in order to get in, especially the water plants. We'll discuss more about some of my little experiences on security. Toastmasters International does not restrict any speech topics. However, In his 16 years in Toastmaster, Stephen has only rarely seen speeches addressing religion, politics, or sex. He would like to hear more such speeches, especially those expressing opinions with which he disagrees. Stephen believes that exposure to contradictory ideas is important for our personal growth, and it is important for our society. With American society as polarized as it is now, and media organizations intentionally feeding us these schisms, our willingness here in Toastmaster to talk, to listen, and to evaluate based on technique instead of content becomes that much more important. Here to talk to us about coming of age, please help me welcome Advanced Toastmaster Gold, Stephen Morgan.
Who here believes that driving a car is an important part of being an adult? Quite a few of you. Do you also agree that it is important for new drivers to learn how to drive, understand how a car works, and to receive hands-on training before being permitted to drive solo? Definitely. Good. Who here agrees that another important part of being an adult is sex? Aha! Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, if driver's education were taught like sex education, it would go something like this. There would be no key, but there would be a key, but no one would say where it goes or how to use it. Men always drive, women always ride. The only pedal is the brake. Don't explain what's under the hood, and if you get in an accident, it's your fault for driving in the first place. The students know that we're trying to sabotage them. So they fill in the gaps from popular culture and discussion with their peers. What they learn is you drive like a NASCAR champion your very first time. What's under the hood is mysterious, powerful, and hot. Punch the gas fast and hard. Parallel parking is extremely awkward. Going in and pulling out is much easier. And to get someone really worked up, use the middle finger. Which is more important, driving or sex? If you're like me, it's sex, hands down. Or in the words of John Wayne, healthy, lusty sex is wonderful. Our triplets are 17 years old. Here in Florida, legally, they can have sex as long as their partner is 16 to 22 years old. Now, as you know, many parents tell their children to wait until marriage to have sex. But do you remember being a teenager? Did you always do what your parents told you to do? Get into that teenager mindset? No, of course not. Puberty is about becoming and discovering yourself. That means physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and sexually. You did it, I did it. Being a teenager means separating from your parents. It means establishing your independence. It means challenging authority. It means exploring the forbidden and the taboo. It means teenagers are going to have sex. Like me, if you want to have grandchildren one day, you want your children to have sex. Like me, if you want your children to be happy and healthy, then you want them to have good sex. Good sex boosts your immune system, relieves stress, reduces blood pressure, improves sleep, and cuts your odds of heart attack and, for men, prostate cancer. So how do you learn to have good sex? What I've learned is the more we talk about sex, the more we know about sex, and the better we get at sex. So some of those questions we should answer and some we should be asking are what I address here. The first being, what is sex? Sex is stimulating within yourself or another person the arousal of lust, sexual gratification, or orgasm. What is an orgasm? Imagine a sneeze. Yeah, that kind of sneeze, yes. A sneeze begins as a tickle or a tingle, a small sensation. It builds quickly or slowly. That sensation is a buildup of nervous energy behind the nose in the nerve bundle back there. And when that buildup reaches a tipping point, all the energy is expelled, your mucous membranes drip, your muscles expand the sinuses, and all the air runs out, taking with it anything that happens to come along with it. Now, an orgasm is your genitals sneezing. And it's just as messy. It is a buildup of nervous energy in the nerve bundle behind the genitals that can build up quickly or slowly. And when that tipping point is reached, the energy is expelled, blood rushes, muscles undulate, and sometimes bodily fluids go along with that too. But the analogy continues beyond that. You know how a sneeze can build up and stop? An orgasm can do that too. An orgasm can be like a sneeze, also drop. And have you ever had a sneezing fit? You know, you can have an orgasm fit too. And that really good feeling after a good sneeze. Imagine what a good orgasm would be. The favorite question, does size matter? For 2,000 years, people have sought spirituality through sexuality using the teachings of the Kama Sutra. And in those teachings, both genders are segregated into one of three sizes according to the size of their genitalia. If you and your partner are the same size, then you can have great sex easily. If you have one size difference, it takes a bit more effort. But if you have two size difference, it's another story altogether. A large male will hurt a small female, and a small male and a large female won't be able to even feel each other at all. So yes, size does matter. But it's not how large you are or how tight you are. It's a question of how well you fit together. How much should you want sex? Well, what is the right way to breathe? You're breathing too fast. Slow down. There's not going to be enough oxygen for the rest of us at this rate. Or you're too slow. Come back up. Realistically, your body breathes at the pace that's best for you. And your libido performs at the level that is best for you. And your partner's libido performs at the level best for your partner. If your levels do not match, then you must each take responsibility to make sure your partner gets what he or she needs. By the way, popular opinion that men want sex more than women. 200 years ago, the reverse opinion was held popularly. The fact is that both genders have the same range of sexual desire. What matters is the individual person. Okay, is it wrong to be turned on by something weird? Why am I not? First, sex is weird. Second, whatever turns you on, there are others that are getting turned on by the exact same thing. Finally, if it is legal and results in good sex, then what I think doesn't matter. Nor does what anyone else thinks. Here, as an example, imagine one day you come across a black latex glove, curious, you pick it up, and suddenly you feel this incredible sexual desire. Soon you're assembling a wardrobe of latex outfits and wanting to wear a latex mask while engaging in sex. You have a latex fetish. But how did it happen? Here's how it can happen. As a young teenager, you visit the dentist for a filling, so you are already feeling tense and fearful. The dentist puts a mask on you to have you breathe some of the nitrous oxide, the laughing gas, and then steps out of the room. The gas helps you relax, and suddenly all that nervous energy explodes into your first orgasm. As you experience these new and intense sensations, you're also experiencing the new and intense smells from the gas in the mask. When you picked up that latex glove years later, your subconscious recognized the smell, recalled that intense orgasm, and suddenly you feel those feelings. See, there's nothing weird about a fetish, any fetish, really. Just like there's nothing weird about liking a particular color or food. It is simply how the brain and the body work. What matters is how you engage and express that desire. Now, latex clothing, it's benign. But what if that first intense orgasm came while doing something taboo? And as a teenager, weren't you attracted to the taboo? sex was taboo, so were drugs and alcohol. What if that first sexual desire got anchored to an adrenaline rush? What if it were attached to feelings of helplessness or embarrassment or humiliation? What if the first orgasm comes during a rape? This is why we should be talking about sex. What is the clitoris? It's the only organ in our anatomy that's sole and only function is to feel pleasure. The clitoris is the female analog to the male penis. Both organs develop from the same organ within the embryo. Both fill with blood and become erect when you're aroused, and both are very sensitive. In fact, it is the stimulation of these two that typically leads to orgasm. Rubbing the two against each other can make for great sex. So make sure you and your partner know where it is. And sex ed never taught anyone yet that I've seen. So an explanation. The clitoral head is located outside and above the vaginal opening, below and just inside where the interlabial lips meet. And it also has a hood, just like an uncircumcised penis does. What is the most important sexual organ? Aha. People have learned this one. There's a good quote from a former porn star for this one, Jenna Jameson. The best sex takes place in the mind first. The brain. Arousal begins with the thought of arousal, the sights, the smells, the sounds, the imaginings of sexual desire. Lust spurs adrenaline and dopamine, which affect the brain, resulting in a greater focus on the present moment and a propensity to take greater risks. Serotonin also floods our brain, generating pleasure. In fact, it is possible to arouse and experience orgasm without any physical contact or stimulation at all, just by engaging the imagination, all by talking. Seduction is the words you say and the way you say them in order to get someone to imagine their own pleasure while thinking of you. So sex is incredibly more complex than driving. It's like driving a car that's constantly changing shape while the road is shifting underneath you. But you're going to prove you can do it, because that's what teenagers love to do, prove themselves. What if a parent encouraged their child to have sex? I actually have a friend that's happened to. Her mother, very much into it, kept encouraging her at like 15 years old that her and her boyfriend, they should have intercourse, and she was bringing in sex toys and offering condoms. Her daughter was, my friend there, she was embarrassed. She was like, "Mom, please, no more of this." She was saying it in front of her boyfriend. And as a result of her mom telling her, "Let's go and have sex," she avoided having intercourse for several years. Sex is part of being an adult, and it's part of becoming an adult, and it's everywhere. We should be talking about it, because the more that we talk, the more that we learn. The more that we try, the more that we learn. But above all, whatever you do, keep talking and keep learning. It's Toastmaster.
Can we have 1 minute on the clock, please, for right comments from Steve? Thank you. And yes, timer, can you please give us the timer's report? going to move to our next part of the meeting. Security, freedom from doubt, anxiety, or fear. That is confidence. Your table topics master wants all of you to exude confidence in your responses to the table topics she has drummed up for you tonight. Welcome our fearless topic leader, Ms. DTM Gail Hill-Smith.
I love that rounding up. Thank you, Julian. Nice to have you back. Well, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I hope you guys have that confidence, because that's what security is all about, as Jorge just mentioned. And because we don't have guests, per se, I know Richard is a guest, but he has been here often enough. I think he remembers what table topics is all about. So I'm going to forego, not to sabotage your learning, but I am going to forego the explanation of what I am doing as a table topic master. Let's get right in there. And I will expect our Toastmaster to give me a sign of some sort when to wind up here. Security. A form of being confident. You're not anxious. You're not fearful. Table topic seems to bring out, however, anti-security. So let's see how that works this evening. Linda Earls. Got the need for speed? A speedier metabolism, that is. If the proposed adoption to legalize cannabis, medical marijuana, passes, how will you plan to secure the anxiety of that increased metabolism should you use legalized marijuana?
From my vast experience with cannabis, I know it to be not an increaser of metabolism, but kind of hang out there where it always was and increase your appetite like crazy, which causes a bad reaction to your body. So as you get less and less energetic and you want to eat more and more food, you just have less and less energy in the future to do anything, and it just is a downward spiral, a huge downward spiral, eating more and not wanting to do anything and not wanting SATs, what's an SAT, and onward down that terrible spiral until you grind to a halt and you hit rock bottom. Rock bottom is very bad. That's a bad thing. And then you realize, oh wow, college, prep, and all that stuff, I forgot about that stuff. And then you start back up that slow climb back to reality where you decide, I'm not going to do any more cannabis, legal or not. And I'm going to put myself on a diet, and I'm going to get ready for life in general. And you start back up that spiral. So my advice is, don't start the spiral downward.
Very confident. Thank you, Linda. You are a caregiver and have been asked by the patient to invoke the Provokian right to die approach to ending their life. Would you be secure in your decision in granting their request? Toni G. You're a caregiver and have been asked by the patient to enact the Kevorkian's right to die approach to ending their life. Would you be secure in granting that request?
Yes.
Why?
If the individual has signed the appropriate legal documents, and hopefully this person will be familiar to me and we would have had a conversation about their wishes prior to it being requested to be done or needing to be done medically. I think everybody should look into the legal documents that the state requires. They do change on a fairly regular basis. So consulting with an attorney to find out what the latest information is and discussing options with your family members is absolutely essential. I saw a conversation about this on television recently, and only about 18% of the population has these kind of conversations with family members. So first you want to have the conversation about sex with your family members. Talk to your grandfather, your grandmother, like get into it. And then when that's kind of complete and you've got the information that you need, you want to talk about death and dying and the person's final desires, which could include some sex. You never know. We haven't tabled that.
That was Frank, that was
Came to me at the end there.
That's what table topics is supposed to help us do. Security, as in TSA. With the advent of a potentially global fight against Ebola, what additional efforts should security, TSA, put into place for travelers at the major areas where our flights come in? James Riggs.
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. I will admit I'm not familiar with the science behind any of the screening that would be necessary to tell if a person was infected or not. But I recall a trip to China several years back when we had their bird flu scare. And as I walked through the terminal, they had a lot of smaller statured Asian people, and they had screening devices. I'm sure they were looking at her temperature and who knows what else. I suppose there is some way for them to tell what, if you have a temperature or some other symptoms. And if that's the case, I would suggest we use that with TSA. And when we're going through our full body scans and they slap the latex gloves on and pat us down in places we would prefer that they don't, they can also have another screening device to look at our temperature and whatever else they need to in order to tell if we are potentially carrying Ebola. Thank you, Madam Table Topics.
You may not be a fan, but shoot, gonna ask just the same. See how secure you are with your response. Gator coach Will Michann is worried about his job, both on the field and off the field, due to those Gators. They are just boys all around, on and off the field. Should he feel secure in his role? Michann.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm assuming this is football because I don't know anything about football. My sport is volleyball, as I mentioned in my icebreaker speech. But as far as watching sports, I watch basketball. That's something that I started with my husband. I've been watching basketball for 3 or 4 years now. My team is the Miami Heat, so I've seen them go through the finals, which has been great. I'm a LeBron fan. And I'm sad to see him go away to Cleveland, but I'm still going to be a fan just because he's a great player. It's been a lot of fun to watch. the big three with Wade and Bosch. One of my favorite players who's not in the spotlight as much for Miami Heat is Anderson. He has all the really colorful tattoos and the crazy hair. And he's just, I think one of the reasons I like him is because he came in, I believe he was out of basketball for 2 years because he had some donor issues and he had to get past that. And he finally got back in, and I just feel like he's had such a strength in coming back. You can just tell that he's trying so hard to do his best to be on the team, so I really like watching him. Sorry that it's been all about basketball, and I know your question was football, but that's everything that I have.
Just FYI, great example of bridging. Your objective for table topics, Michann, is just to get up and talk. If you don't know anything about the topic, you can BS your way through, which we do often, or you can bridge to another topic that you're familiar with. You did an excellent job. Thank you. Think we have time for one more? All right. Etiquette. Woo! Something I think our society and our culture is a little lacking, personal opinion, but Supreme Court has recently ruled to recognize a union between two human beings. You have two lesbian friends who have been partners for some 18 plus years. And what would be your opinion for them if they now wish to legally marry with that union that they've been in over 18 years? Is there a protocol you might suggest, Susan?
Well, my opinion is they've been partners for 18 years. It is shame on the country for not allowing them to be partners legally. I very much believe that if two people care about each other and they want to live with each other and be married, how we might consider what marriage is, they should be allowed to do that. I think they should be allowed to have their next of kin being that person. So if for some reason they're in the hospital, they get to make decisions, not mommy or whomever was there, 20 years ago. I think that I think they should be able to have a life that they would like to have. And I don't think that because they're same sex, it should make any difference.
Ms. Shaw, could we have a timer's report on our topics so we can vote?
Everybody qualified. You just want me to go down the list or is that fine?
It's helpful to mention the person in the topic, just as a reminder.
Okay.
For voting purposes.
Linda, you came in at 1 minute and 26 seconds. And we won't be mentioning topic. Okay.
Quick topic.
You talked about marijuana. Toni, you had the caregiver question, but that came in at 1 minute and 22 seconds. James, you had TSA with the Ebola situation, 1 minute and 11 seconds. I came in with the Gators at 1 minute and 26 seconds. And Susan, talking about lesbians and marriage, 1 minute and 21 seconds.
Great. If you'll cast your vote, kind of come around, and I will turn this afternoon over to our Toastmaster. Thank you.
Thank you again. Any questions?
Just bring you guys up to date and turn it down.
Security has become a very popular and profitable industry. There are thousands of jobs. I'm looking for a job, and I don't think I can do security. Salaries range from $17 to $80 an hour. It's a risky job. I'm a part of the security and also the bodyguards. I know a friend, somebody, again, I always tell things in Bolivia. It's a relative, a second uncle or someone we know. He is the security or the bodyguard for one of the American ambassadors in Bolivia. And there was a time where Americans were not very popular in Bolivia. And when he was giving a speech, there was an attempt, somebody shot him. But he jumped in front of the bullet, so he took the bullet for him. He didn't die, he was fine, he became a hero, and he became an American very quickly. He was sent to the States and for additional training, and his career just went up exponentially. I just wanted to mention that as bodyguards. I know there's other bodyguards that do other things. The only bodyguards I knew before were the bouncers that were at the nightclubs. They didn't want to let me into the clubs. Moving to the next portion of our meeting, my goodbye. To introduce our general evaluator for tonight, Charlie Bombalier has been a member of Toastmasters for about 5 years and is proud of the fact that, thankfully, Toastmaster is not a politically correct organization, and we are still free to express our feelings and thoughts as responsible adults. Toastmaster gives us the ability to stimulate our minds by having speeches and debates on important matters that affect our daily lives and future. Every aspect of Toastmaster is designed to give us the necessary tools to improve our ability in speaking in public. Please help me welcome our General Evaluator, Mr. Charlie Bombalier.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. The purpose of the General Evaluator is not to sabotage the meeting. Instead, it is to highlight the good, the bad, and the ugly. Congratulations to Michann for volunteering to open the meeting, and a great job despite all the confusion and disturbance. She did open the meeting on time and then smartly took a recess and then finished up. Great job for a beginner. On to the good part of the evaluation. Mr. Julian C has been a Central Florida facilitator for 4 years. He has recently returned from an extended leave of absence from the club. Upon his return, tonight he volunteered to evaluate Ted Allman's speech. Ted spoke on one of Julian's favorite subjects, the mindset. Please help me welcome Advanced Communicator Bronze, Julian C.
Ted, this is your 7th speech. Let me turn you on to a little secret. A good speech is like good sex. It's not about crossing every T and dotting every I. It's about moving and You started out great. You came out here and you started with something that got our attention. I am smarter. I can do anything that you can do. And after that, it kind of went down. You struggled throughout your speech. This speech was about researching your topic. Now, a speech about researching your topic doesn't have to be methodical and dry. It can be wet and sloppy or somewhere in the middle. Now, the secret about a great speech is a great story. And you can certainly make a great story out of anything. If you would have captured the idea of a mindset, it's one of my favorite topics. And I just love learning about the mind and mindsets and what makes people tick. So it's a subject that's near and dear to me. But you can take literary liberties on your subject. And if you would have developed the same information around a personal story, I am sure you have lived or know somebody that has gone through all the different aspects of learning, struggles, things of that nature that you talk about. On top of that, you used a lot of research has shown, but gave us very little whose research. So I think if you would have rewritten your speech a little bit more into a story, something personal, or about somebody that you know, it would have been easier for you to deliver. You wouldn't have gotten stuck and stuttered along the way like you did, like in the middle of your speech. And it would have been a lot more, you would have brought more impact, and it would have been easier for you to develop that speech. I love the subject, and I wish you the best.
Thank you, getting warm in this room. Okay. Let's not get carried away here and not sabotage this meeting. This Toastmaster enjoys listening to all the talent within Central Florida facilitators, but especially loves hearing speeches of all kinds of diverse topics. Evaluations can be tough, but a much needed part of our development to improve. Here to evaluate Micki D's speech, please help me welcome Sarah Hunt.
Thank you, General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and Micki. Why is it so difficult for me to give speeches? It's a great, relatable topic. You made it very clear. I'm glad you did. Those 3 reasons definitely organized your speech. And I commend you on being so determined to go back to basics, because every speech we do needs to have that structure and organization, and we can slip sometimes and forget about those basics. Some strong areas that I'd like to point out first about your speech, Micki. The opening was strong. I could tell in your voice, you said, it's hard, I'm going to win this fight. The determination was very strong. And I know you work hard at this. Sometimes you may not put that out there with some of the prefaces that you say prior to speaking. But I like that opening. You told us what was going to happen. The organization, the time, language barrier, and the topics were the 3 reasons why it's difficult for you to give a speech. The second example about the language barrier, that was a strength when you asked Jonathan, speaking in a different language. You couldn't use a better example. Jonathan's like, oh, nothing, he speaks all the time, nothing. It was, nothing needed to be said, it was just that sentence and we got it. And the third area that I felt was very strong is you use short sentences. An example, I get to work at 9 o'clock, I eat lunch at my desk, I get home at 6. You wouldn't want to do that, all the speech, but I felt when you did insert those short sentences in very simple language, it just flowed nice and it wasn't covered with lots of fancy words that sometimes people can trip over and get lost and lose their place. I have 2 suggestions on how to strengthen your speech. Your eye contact, I would recommend to improve. You start small. a lot of reading, referring to notes. You had your points. No question it was organized, but look around the room at each of the tables, even if it's just one table, and come back and reference if you need to use notes. The second was the closing. You ended your speech. That is why it is so difficult for me to write a speech or give a speech. We know that. You gave those 3 examples. I would choose something different. Don't let these barriers sabotage you. You are better than you think you are. I know that. Your next speech, I urge you to be creative. And I want it to be called Why It Is So Easy for Me to Give a Speech.
Last but not least, of course, security is a degree of resistance to or protection from harm. It applies to any vulnerable and valuable assets such as a person, dwelling, community, nation, or organization. Would you like security from embarrassment when you are engaged in public speaking? Our next evaluator has some advice for you this evening. Practice, practice, practice. Internalize, internalize, internalize. Never be ashamed to be vulnerable. People crave that degree of authenticity, and last but not least, have somebody evaluate you using truth. The truth must be good enough. Here to evaluate Stephen Morgan, please welcome Advanced Communicator Gold, Jonathan Barak.
Fellow Toastmasters, especially you, Stephen. As I was coming of age this evening with your speech, I learned a valuable lesson. It's incredibly challenging to evaluate a speech when you're But since it was a humorous speech, we knew right off the bat that the mission had been accomplished. We're going to take that coming of age speech, Stephen, and we're going to go legendary tonight. We're going to examine structure, content, and delivery as if that's any sort of surprise. Let's start with structure. Fellow Toastmasters, Stephen came out with his best material. He emotionally connected with all of us. His question asking pulled our walls all the way down. Tying into a speech, Stephen, it was incredibly great foreplay, my friend. The body of your speech, we'll leave it simply like this. To quote Missouri-based rapper Nelly, "It's getting hot in here." The closing, I think about rock concerts when I think about closing, and you saved your best material for last. Fellow Toastmasters, with Stephen's closing, he showed us all how important it is to not prematurely ejaculate.
Keep going.
He really started with his introduction. This is brutal payback.
Thanks, babe.
He showed us why we wanted to listen with that introduction. He spoke in language we could understand. It was very Freudian. Your imagery in your content, it was verbal Playboy, Stephen. And since we were talking about intimacy in your speech, if you had used a few more yous, we would have all had a little more intimacy. Your delivery, your appearance. The man was dressed like he was going to a bar trying to get more sex. Great job. He stood up here and didn't say a word, and he locked eyes with us like we were all at the bar together and he was wanting to have sex. His vocal variety, for those of you that have lasted more than 90 seconds, had all the markings of sexual intimacy. There were some lows, there were some highs, and there was some pauses at high pleasure points. I've got nothing to share with you to make it better. I only wish I had heard the speech in '94. Maybe one of my 3 marriages wouldn't have been sabotaged. Mr. General Evaluator.
Wow. Can you bring those fans closer? Thank you, Jonathan.
Somebody drink Charlie some cold water.
Julian came in at 3 minutes and 6 seconds. Sarah, you're at 3 minutes and 4 seconds. Jonathan, 3 minutes and 11 seconds. So everybody qualifies.
Thank you. And yes, Julian, you're looking at a hot-blooded Spanish French guy here, okay?
Hey, man, hey. I'm not gay, though. Maybe some of the ladies ought to look at you.
Okay. I believe that I have my Functionaries Report. Is that what I'm going to
Yeah.
Starting again with the time report going to get votes. Yes, for Mary, please.
For Marion.
We had a lot of use of the word sabotage. Charlie used it twice. Jonathan, Jorge, Michann, Micki, Stephen, and Sarah all used the word today. Excellent. Gail did too. Oh, I missed you. Sorry about that. Yeah. And one word, Charlie had one missing syllable in authenticity. I think it went authenticity. And Jonathan pulled our walls all the way down. I wasn't sure I wanted them down. Good phrase. And premature what? Jorge, you used refreshing when describing our security laxness. I like that use of it. And more risky to crime, possibly could be more vulnerable to crime. And I liked contradictory ideas and schism, I'm not sure what that means. That's like schisms, got it. I'm not sure what that means, but it was good. If I knew what it means, I probably would have liked that one. Micki, work with no break. I'm not even familiar with that phrase at all. She's a hard worker, I guess. And as Sarah mentioned, determined to win this fight. We both like that phrase. And my dreadful life. I like that. Gail used anti-security. I thought that was clever. Thank you so much.
And the off-campus report, please.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Jonathan, I heard one double clutch. That's it, man. Gail, I heard one double clutch. Jorge, I heard 3 ahs and ums and 3 double clutches. Toni, I heard 1 ah and and 1 double clutch. And 2 likes or so's. And something like that. Ted, I heard 4 ahs and ums, 3 double clutches, and 1 and like or so. Micki, I only heard 2 likes or so's. Stephen, I heard 1 double clutch and 2 and likes or so's. Linda, I heard 1 on 1 double clutch and 2 and likes or so's. Gail, I heard 1 double clutch. James, I heard 3 ahs and ums and 1 double clutch. Julian, I heard 3 double clutches and 4 ahs, ands, or so's, and actually it was now. You were using now a lot instead of and or so, just so you're aware. Charlie, 2 and likes or so's. And Sarah, I heard 1 and like or so, and I heard like 3 tongue licks, so just thought I'd bring that to your attention so you know. And that is my report, Madam. It's his turn.
Now for the highlights of the meeting. Ed Ullman, you did it. I have to congratulate you. This is your second speech as many weeks. That's tough. You did a good job. Micki D, you prepared yourself well. Wherever she's hiding, I can't even see her. Oh, there she is. And Stephen Morgan. Wow. What a powerful speech, my friend. Evaluators were all precise and all gave helpful feedback, and that's what evaluators should do to all the speeches. The Sergeant at Arms did a great job setting up the room, and thanks to Lieutenant Ullman for helping. He was here before I even came in, and he offered to help, which did a very nice job. I would suggest on the bad side, or ugly side, if you want to call it, I would suggest that the Toastmaster of any week, not just picking on you, but any, should really try, because I've seen this happen already several times, should try to be here early. It eliminates these problems that we have when people don't show up, and then we have to scramble, and we don't need to have a recess. That would eliminate that. But on the other hand, you did a great job as a Toastmaster, and I want to congratulate you on that. Overall, this was a really great, stimulating meeting. And I got to hand it over to the Presidente.
At this time, may we vote for the most improved Toastmaster. And as next week's meeting is Gail's baby, we'll let Gail stand up and share with us what she still needs. Gail?
Most of you know that next week as Toastmaster, I'm challenging our club to have a debate. The topic of debate, it was decided, vaccinations. Do we need so many? To date, I have 3 speakers. I need 4. I have 2 for the question and 1 against the question. I need 1 more against the question. I sent an email around indicating all the different manuals that you could conceivably use to address the topic. But I do need to have a 4th speaker, hopefully by tonight, because otherwise I will open it up to other Toastmaster clubs, because there's some preliminary work that both speakers need to be working on leading up to the debate. In addition, we will have the functionaries and we will have evaluators. But of course, we'll need 4 evaluators in this case. So our VPE, we need that. I don't know what the schedule is.
That sheet is floating around. It seemed to have gotten frozen.
Right here, yeah. So we can circulate this. Is anybody interested? You don't have to necessarily believe in the position you're taking. It's a great opportunity, I think, to research the topic. Even though I did have a comment that 1, it wasn't spicy enough, 1 wasn't, it was pretty lame. And I challenged both of those Toastmasters. And I won't name names, Charlie and John, but, you know, neither of you came forward. So do I have another speaker? James, you're about ready to open your arm, right?
Tallahassee.
Ah. Susan?
No.
Michann? This would be a great, are you planning on a family sometime? I mean, we're on the topic of sex, you know, but, because this would be a great topic to research. Okay, I'm not going to pressure you, but do come up to me, Michann, at the end and do let me know you.
I can't do it, but
Okay.
Gail, so we're not going to need a table topics master.
No table topics. We won't have time.
We need a timer.
I'll do it.
Susan? We need an counter. Michann?
Need evaluated.
Are there rules for evaluation that are going to be different? Or
Not
what
for
is
the
that?
speech.
Are they going to be speech projects? Yeah.
We need a grammarian. And how many evaluators did you say we needed, Gail?
4, if we get 4 speakers.
Okay, so Tony's going to evaluate.
I'll be evaluated.
Charlie's an evaluator.
I can help.
Micki?
One more?
Yeah. Okay, good. So we're filled up outside of grammarian and one more speaker. We're set. So that's wonderful.
Great, thank you.
Any announcements that need to be brought up from the floor as we get ready to hand out announcements?
Dues, are we collecting dues?
Dues, yes.
Late.
Late now.
Yes, Charlie is collecting dues, $45 to the Central Florida facilitators. Yes, Toni.
On the schedule, I wrote down for the last October meeting that the thing was Halloween, because
Good.
it always is, and nobody is talking about it. So, does that work?
Yes.
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 Everybody
Halloween
wants-
meeting.
Well,
Stephen, did you write down?
I wrote down.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Thank you.
Yo-yo. Earlier, Ted talked about embracing the struggle. Our Tim Chastain Award winner is a newer member who has come in, accepted roles, done whatever has been asked, and has embraced the struggle. So may we get a drum roll for the Tim Chastain Award winner this evening. It's going to go to Michann Acevedo. The drum is going, the most improved is coming, and it's going to go to Mihaela Dumitrescu. The Best Table Topics Award winner, Toni the Bionic Woman Giddle. Best Evaluator Award winner this evening is going to go to Ms. Sarah Hunt. And the best speaker, Mr. Stephen Morgan. Everyone, have a wonderful evening. The meeting is adjourned.
All right.